Have you ever seen a squirrel? If yes, then you can notice how they're constantly on the move, which makes it hard to catch them. They are always curious and constantly looking for new things. If they notice something shiny, they'll impulsively dart towards. They energetically start collecting their nuts, and then get easily distracted and rapidly shift their attention to a new thing. And will forget about their nuts, jumping around chaotically until they'll find a new thing to fixate on. That squirrel is me. I mean, not literally, but symbolic. In one of my videos, I promised that we would come back to the topic of ADHD, and now it's high time to fulfill this promise. So as an ADHD psychologist, let me push you into ADHD rabbit hole. ADHD is an abbreviation for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, which is kinda misleading. Why? Well, first, it's not really about an attention deficit. ADHD people do have attention, like neurotypicals. However, we have different settings for that attention compared to neurotypicals. Let me explain. Imagine your attention is like a spotlight. For most people, those who are neurotypical, this spotlight can spread out and cover a bunch of things at once, like a floodlight at concert. They can keep track of their surroundings, shift focus easily, and multitask without much trouble. But for someone with ADHD, attention works differently. According to Monotropism Theory, our spotlight is more like a laser beam. It focuses intensely on just one thing at a time, whether that's a video game, a hobby, or even daydream. When we're in this laser-focused mode, we get so absorbed in what we're doing that everything else just fades away. This is what we call hyperfocus. However, this super-focused attention also has its challenges. Since the spotlight is so tightly focused, it's hard to shift to something else, like that homework assignment or a conversation. This can lead to inattention or impulsivity, where we might suddenly jump from one task to another without realizing we've left something important behind. So while neurotypical brains are like concert floodlights, spreading their attention and easily shifting between tasks, ADHD brains are rocking that intense laser beam, zooming in on one thing at a time. It's not about lacking focus, it's just a different way of focusing, one that comes with its own set of strengths and challenges. But that's just the theory. And neurodivergent theory. Another thing about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is that it doesn't mention impulsivity in its abbreviation. And my personal problem is that it categorizes it as a disorder and not a condition. And I have similar feelings regarding that as I had in context of autism spectrum. So you can check that in my previous video. Now I'll quickly mention how common ADHD is. Spoiler alert, it's more common than you might think. The prevalence of ADHD in the research varied throughout the years as society becomes more aware of its symptoms, and therefore more ADHDers are pursuing their diagnosis. While it used to be thought that ADHD occurred in less than 1% of people, now the statistics tend to show between 2.5% to even around 8 or even 10%. The percentage varies depending on the age group, gender, and other factors like this, as ADHD is more often recognized in boys and primarily in children. What's more, ADHD doesn't have a one-size-fits-all. It's not always the super energetic boy running laps around the playground and disturbing the classes. Sometimes it's the person who zones out during meetings, or the one who struggles to keep their to-do list in check. ADHD is all around us, quietly influencing the way people think, act, and navigate their day-to-day lives. So next time you're in a crowd, remember, ADHD is more common than you might think, and understanding it is the first step to busting those myths and supporting the people who live with it every day. And while I mentioned how ADHD can look differently depending on the person, I think it's a good time to mention about ADHD subtypes, which can change throughout a person's lifetime. First up, we've got the inattention crew. These are the folks who sometimes can hyper-focus on their current favorite hobby for hours, but struggle to remember what they had for breakfast. Although it's officially called inattention section, as I mentioned before, it's not exactly about lack of attention, but more about how it's managed. Inattentiveness is one of the hallmarks of ADHD. Picture this. You sit down to start a task, but within minutes, your mind drifts off to a million other places. You might find it tough to stay focused, easily distracted by the slightest noise or movement. It's not that you don't want to pay attention. It's like trying to watch a movie on TV, but always ending up switching channels or doing other things while watching it. Losing things is another common issue. Keys, wallets, and even your phone can seem to vanish into thin air, no matter how many times you promise yourself to keep track of them. You may sometimes find it in unusual places, like a phone in the refrigerator. Oh, not that I'm speaking of experience, just heard that it happens. And then there's forgetfulness. You make a mental note to call a friend, to remember an important meeting, or pick up groceries. But poof, it's gone. There are just other things to bring your attention and make you behave like a sim entering a room to do something. But then your player deletes the task, never standing having no clue what you are about to do.
He stopped cooking so that he could eat some of the spoiled food and forget about the oven.
Inattentiveness in ADHD isn't about being lazy or careless. It's a genuine struggle with managing attention and memory. But understanding it is the first step toward managing it better. Then there's Hyperactive-Impulsive squad. They're the ones who can't sit still, blurting out answers before the question is even finished. These are the folks who can't stand still for 5 seconds and seem to have a built-in megaphone. Imagine trying to watch a movie and feeling like you need to stand up, do jumpy jacks, and comment on every scene, all at the same time. That's hyperactivity in action. And impulsivity? It's like having a turbocharged brain that doesn't hit the brakes before it opens its mouth. Ever blurted out something you instantly regretted? Welcome to the club. Hyperactivity and impulsivity are the dynamic dual subtype of ADHD. Imagine having a motor running inside you that never shuts off. Sitting still feels nearly impossible. You're always fidgeting, tapping your foot, or finding some other way to release the restless energy. It's like having a constant itch you can't quite scratch. Talking excessively is another hallmark. Conversations can feel like a race, where you're eager to blout out your thoughts before they slip away. You might find yourself dominating discussions or talking over others, not because you want to, but because holding back feels like trying to dam a river with a paper cup. Interrupting is also common. You might jump into conversations some strangers have about a topic where you know the correct answer, so you need to share it with them, or just enthusiastically joining a game played by others without asking for the permission. It's not about being rude, it's about an impulse that's tough to control. And let's not forget about the combined team. These folks experience a mix of both inattentiveness and hyperactivity impulsivity. And I happen to be the leader in that team, collecting all possible symptoms. So I got that gold medal in the Olympics, and let me show you how me trying to sleep looks like. And again, it's important to remember that ADHD is also like a spectrum. Everyone experiences symptoms differently. Some people might have already good support and multiple strategies to tame that ADHD beast, while others might face more significant challenges. And just because you don't fit the stereotype of a hyperactive boy doesn't mean you can't have ADHD. And although you cannot get rid of ADHD or magically become neurotypical, you can learn how to work with that wild squirrel so you experience more benefits and less disadvantages. I'm not gonna lie though, it does require hard work and strong support, and often drugs. But that's a broader topic, so let me know if you want me to elaborate on that in the future. And another mini disclaimer here, you might see some mentioned symptoms in yourself, but not have ADHD. So if you suspect you might have an ADHD, it's best to confirm it via ADHD diagnosis. Sometimes it turns out to be something different. And as I just explained that ADHD isn't just about hyperactive naughty boys, let's bust another myth that apparently even some psychologists and psychiatrists believe, despite the evidence. If you're new to the topic of ADHD, you might think ADHD is just for kids bouncing off the walls. But that's a major misconception. While it's true that ADHD often shows up in childhood, it often sticks around well into adulthood. It's not something that you grew out. It's a permanent, different way of functioning, which unfortunately is often misunderstood by neurotypicals. And therefore, along with adulthood, ADHD is often accompanied with substance use disorders, mood disorders, anxiety disorders, and personality disorders. Like, imagine growing up with the struggles of ADHD, difficulty focusing, impulsivity, restlessness, and being told you'll just grow out with it. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work that way. The symptoms might change as you age, but they don't vanish. Instead, they morph and adapt, showing up in different ways. For kids, ADHD might look like bouncing off walls, dreaming in class, or losing homework. As an adult, it can transform into chronic lateness, struggling to meet deadlines, or feeling overwhelmed by daily tasks. While in childhood you could have been more hyperactive, impulsive subtype, in adulthood you might be more inattention. Adults with ADHD often have to find new strategies to manage their symptoms. It might mean using tools like planners, alarms, and apps to stay organized, or seeking professional support to develop coping mechanisms. Adult ADHDers also often use camouflage. They try to hide their symptoms in order to avoid criticism from the society. However, that masking and some maladaptive strategies are usually accompanied by a lot lot of effort and stress for that person, even when it's not obvious from outside. That's why it's important to learn more adaptable strategies and increase awareness of ADHD in society, so we, ADHDers, can be accepted as our true selves, without having to mask our symptoms or get criticized due to misunderstanding of our behaviors. So if you are not struggling with focus, impulsivity, restlessness, and extra disorders as a bonus, you're not alone. And even though you can't change your ADHD, I wanna give you hope that your life can be better and worth living. Okay. So ADHD is a lot about looking for new exciting thing, novelty and changes. Autism spectrum is a lot about loving routine and safety in repetitions. So what do you get if you mix those two seemingly opposite sides? Boom! Paradox. Called ADHD, or as I sometimes call it, ADHD. And to understand that paradox, watch my next video about intersection of ADHD and autism spectrum.